Hello there, good evening. We bring you another exciting session by Eternal Quest and Westland Publications in collaboration with Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open University, Gujarat, SNS School, Tirupur. The Wayap Selection and Chai Business Club invites you to for a exciting and stimulating conversation with none other than author Purushottam Agarwal. And I, Rahul Sharma, your host and your host for today's session. I'm as much excited as you are. I have so many questions about Kabir. Before that, let's talk about today's author. Purushottam Agarwal needs no introduction in India and beyond. He served as a member of UPSC from 2007 to 2013. Before this, he was professor and chairperson, Center of Indian Languages, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. He has been a visiting professor at Cambridge University, UK, and a British Academy Fellow at Wharton College there. He has been also visiting professor at El Colegio de Mexico. He has authored numerous books, Akar Kani Prem Ki, Padmavat, and Kabir Kabir. Today we will be talking and delving deep into his latest book, Kabir Kabir. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the
Thank
session.
you. Thank you.
Sir, this topic Kabir Kabir is very interesting. We all have learned various stories of Kabir Dohas. My first question, what made you start delve deep into this topic, this book, Kabir Kabir?
Well, Rahul, just as you mentioned, we all know something about Kabir, right from our childhood, at least, particularly in Hindi speaking areas. But more than that, right since beginning, I had a sense of restless query, right since my childhood, about the world, about beyond the world, and things like that. In that sense, I was a rather different kind of child, as I have written in the book also, a rather introverted, irritable, sometimes showing fits of anger, difficult to manage. So this restlessness was there constantly, which took me to many avenues. And it was during that I realized that Kabir and this whole tradition of so-called Nirgun Bhakti, the devotion to formless God, is one trend which refuses to look at the world in a binary, which looks at the world in a holistic way. So I became interested in it because, as Kabir himself says, Bahar Bhitar Sabad Nirantar. So there is a constant interaction between Bahar and Bhitar, and none of it can be ignored. So this was my basic kind of involvement query, which took me to Kabir. And my academic engagement with Kabir started in 1977, when as a student of MA, a postgraduate class in literature, in Hindi literature at JNU, I wrote a term paper on Kabir. Then Kabir became a kind of constant companion, or if you please, obsession with me. Apart from everything else, I went on studying Kabir, thinking about Kabir and wider phenomenon. So that is how it is. And I kept on publishing papers and articles, but I published my book, the outcome of my research and reflection, only after 32 years. That is 2009. I started off in 1977 and published my systematic work first time in Hindi in 2009, and then this year this book, Kabir Kabir.
Interesting, sir. While reading your book, Kabir Kabir, I felt you took me in my childhood.
Mhm.
As I went through your initial chapters, you talk about yourself, how you were very curious as a child. to look beyond life and death. So you have been a seeker all your life for answers. And that's
Yeah.
how you are able to write this book. So as your journey took over 40 years, so over 40 years, while you're working on a topic of Kabir, have you found the Kabir in you, or you have met him maybe in your dreams, or maybe again through reading books, or you reach a chemical locha, or like what?
Without a chemical locha, you won't bother about literature at all. Frankly speaking, not only Kabir, but the kind of so-called pragmatism which is prevalent in the world today excludes literature, history, and philosophy from your view. And this, to my mind, is one of the fundamental problems of world and education system today. Because rest is training. Whether you are an engineer or you are a chartered accountant or you are a manager, that's all professional training. Education consists of humanizing you, and which is done through literature, philosophy, and history. So anyway, so that in that sense, without a chemical lucha, nobody would be interested in literature in these days. So, so far as finding Kabir within me or things like that, Rahul, potentially everyone has a Kabir in him or her. Because in this sense, Kabir is the metaphor of inquiry. Kabir is the metaphor, the word Kabir becomes a metaphor for putting your experiences in a holistic, in a rational framework, in looking at world outside the binary of spiritual and rational, and things like that. So in that sense, yes, I have a Kabir in me, and I have tried that Kabir in me is not overwhelmed by the kind of things we face around us. So yes, there is Kabir in me, and every one of us can find Kabir in ourselves by the simple exercise of constantly reflecting, spending some time with ourselves, and also looking at the struggle which other people before us have launched with themselves in order to understand the world around. That is why I repeat, it is important to have some rudimentary sense of history, philosophy, and literature. Because these disciplines of knowledge document the human quest, the human seeking for truth with a capital T.
Well said, sir, well said. So in your book, I came across pain will give you nectar. In Hindi they say, दर्द को सहना नहीं है, दर्द को समझना है. So often Kabir, maybe the message we see, the pain suffering is a blessing in disguise. Pain will give you the moksha, salvation. So how you put it, like initially Kabir was into Shakta, but later, as mentioned, that he finally become Nirgun Bhakti. So was that, according to you, was that spontaneous, or he got, after he met Ramananda, his guru, he got this message? This is a real bhakti, this is a real way to find himself for yourself.
Here are two very crucial things which must be understood. Pain does not give you moksha. Reflection and putting your pain in perspective maybe gives you moksha. Suffering pain, cursing yourself, or cursing your spouse for that matter, or your elder brother, or your mother, does not give you any relief. Forget about moksha. But putting the pain in perspective. For example, if someone who I love has given me pain, I must put it in the perspective that what was his or her standpoint. Did I do something which caused the pain which I realize as mine, and I do not want to look at her pain or something like that? So that is one thing. Put every experience of pain in a perspective. then only you can hope to have some understanding of it. Moksha is quite a big thing, but that is the beginning. Secondly, and it is in this context that I have alluded to one very popular yet not properly appreciated poem by Kabir or verse by Kabir, Sakhi. दुख में सुमरन सब करें, सुख में करे ना कोई, जो सुख में सुमरन करे तो दुख काहे को कोई. The point being made here is very simple. It's not Sumran of Ram or anything else. It's Sumran means reflection. So when you are in pleasure, when you are happy, everything is fine, Anke Dori around you, that time also you should constantly go on reflecting on yourself and the world around. If you develop this habit, then maybe you will have less pain. जो सुख में सुमरन करे तो दुख काहे को होए. That is one. Secondly, see, about this Kabir Ramanand meeting, the most interesting thing is that Kabir sought his guru. Ramanand did not seek him. Kabir made the decision. The decision was his. The choice was his. That, well, I have practiced with Shaktaj, and he was very upset and angry with Shaktaj as it reflected in his sayings. Then probably he interacted with Nath Panthis, and he, of course, did a lot of Sufi practices and was associated with Sufi tradition in many ways. But finally he decided to go to Ramanand. And when he goes to Ramanand, it's not only who learns from Ramanand, he also teaches Ramanand. As the story goes that Ramanand was quite liberal, everything, but still he did not see the Muslims face to face. So he saw Kabir only from behind a curtain and asked him that, why you claim that you are my disciple? I never made you disciple. I never gave you Guru Mantra and all that. So Kabir reminds him, or Kabir tells him, that when you were going to take your bath to Ganga, you hit me. I was deliberately lying there on the stair, and the moment your foot was on me, you uttered Ram Ram, and that was my Guru. So therefore you are my Guru. So Ramanand did not make him a guru disciple by choice. Kabir, in a sense, tricked and forced Ramanand to make him guru, according to this legend. You have read the book, and I have read this legend saying that teaching, meaningful teaching, whether in secular sphere or in spiritual sphere, is a two-way process. I also learn from my students, and I must learn from my students. So according to the legend, the story goes, as you know, the moment Kabir told Ramanand that I became your disciple this way, Ramanand comes out of curtain and hugs him and says, you are my best disciple. Because Ramanand here is implicitly saying that you taught me something which I never thought about. So Kabir-Ramanand relationship is not the relationship of the kind which contemporary so-called gurus have with their disciples. Let us never confuse with that. You see, the gurus which come by a dozen these days, it's not that kind of relationship. It's a relationship of mutual respect and mutual learning.
Well said, well said. Sir, I got to know you took 40 years to pen down Kabir.
Yeah, that's right.
So, how was your journey? I mean, 40 years. I'm 35 and I see 40 years. No, it feels like it's like a one lifetime we are given to Kabir.
That's true. That's true.
So,
To be
I would like
precise,
to
to be
know
precise.
how you
Yeah.
started and what made you keep pushing. No, I haven't found the Kabir yet. Maybe one more decade. And that's how you are going in a journey here. When I read your book, I was, oh my God, I could not stop myself, like rereading the chapters again and again. Like, it will take maybe 5, 10, 20 readings to understand the words, the meaning beyond it. So please, sir,
Yeah.
40 years.
Thank you. Thank you. Rahul, as I told you, I started working on Kabir in an academic sense in 1977. I did my PhD thesis on Kabir and I submitted it, I believe, in 1984 or 85. And as it happens, the thesis was appreciated by my professor Nambar Singh and other teachers who had read it. And everybody wanted me to publish it as soon as possible. The leading publisher in Hindi, Raj Kamal, they were insistent, they were after me that please give that thesis to us to publish. But when I was working on my thesis, even then I started realizing the inherent limitations, not of my thesis only, but of the way we have been trained to look at the so-called medieval India. I'll give you one example. Like every thesis, the first chapter of my thesis was about the review of literature. In Hindi, it was titled Kabir ke Adhyan ki Samasyaएं. So the first authors which I mentioned who wrote about Kabir were, of course, the British officers who wrote about Kabir in early 19th century. I was not aware, or even if I was aware, I did not consider it important at that point of time in 1977, 1979, 80 or 81, to recognize that much before the British authors bothered to write about Kabir, there was a huge academic discourse on Kabir in vernacular languages, in Hindi. In 17th century, Ram Rahes Sahab was writing about Kabir in Bihar. After that, Puran Sahib was writing about Kabir in present-day Madhya Pradesh. But we are trained in such a way that these writings were considered outside the pale so far as academics is concerned. My thesis did not mention any one of them. And there were other problems also. I went on working, then I actually got into activism also. I became an activist for communal harmony, against communal politics, for human rights, and so on and so forth. And in the process, I interacted with many people. The Kabir interest was always there, under the surface in a sense. And I visited many places associated with Kabir and Kabir Panthis, from Gujarat to Puri, from Nepal to Maharashtra, and so on. So all this changed my perspective, as is indicated in the book, not only about Kabir, but about the entire Indian historical experience. So this, as you say, one lifetime, yes, it was a kind of rebirth for me. As an Indian, my engagement with Kabir made me realize that the way we are trained to view our history, to view our own society and culture, is deeply problematic. That is why in this book I insist on the importance of vernacular. You cannot understand India if you just exclusively depend on Sanskrit or Persian or these days on English. Unless you interact with the vernacular wisdom, which is not merely emotional or spiritual, which is quite rational and very logical and rigorous also, you cannot understand the dynamics of this society. And therefore, it took 32 years to publish the first book, and then another 10 years or so to publish the second book. That's right. And in any case, I believe in the dictum that you must not say publicly anything, you must not write anything publicly until and unless you are prepared to bet your life on it. So when I published my book on Kabir, it caused a huge controversy. It was well received. It was considered a path-breaking study and classic and all that. And on the other hand, it was attacked vehemently by some people. Fine. Because I am on solid footing. I am on solid ground. What I have said, as they say in Sanskrit, na kinchit amulam likhyate. I have not made any claim. I have not made any statement which is not rooted in solid historical evidence and which I cannot defend objectively and rationally speaking. So all these ideas, for example, spirituality beyond religion, vernacular modernity, the insistence on privacy, the individuality, the idea of individuality so forcefully underlined in Kabir, all this is, I'm quite confident of all these things. So before making a statement, before publishing anything, you should be absolutely confident about it. That's why it took so much of time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I think there's a learning for like me, budding writers or to be writers. You should delve deep what you are going to publish or you are going to do. So I have like questions like when you are started writing this book, what was your schedule like? More reading the book, more traveling, or just jotting down what you have learned from the people around, and how you were able to find all the details about Kabir across India and beyond. So,
I'll tell you. As I told you, in a sense, the book was being written over last so many years. I was doing my normal activities, teaching, meeting friends, or delivering lectures, going on television as a political commentator. Everything was going on, but Kabir was a constant presence. So, and in any case, reading is one of my, most persistent obsessions. I have only couple of bad habits. Reading is one of them. I do not have many bad habits. Reading is one of them. Yes, obsessive, compulsive reading. So anyway, so but when I was writing the book, then my obsession was my discipline. I'll tell you one incident. My wife Suman, we were invited to a reception and we were sitting there having dinner. And I should not name the person, a leading scientist of the country, leading scientist, recipient of Padma Vibhushan, got interested in whatever I was saying and we started talking. All of a sudden, I started having some ideas about the chapter which I was writing. And I thought that this is the problem which I was facing. This can be resolved this way. All of a sudden, I remembered that yes, that reference is there. That evidence can be quoted in favor of this argument I'm trying to make. And I told Suman, let's go. Suman was taken aback. I mean, a very senior person, a respected scientist, respected academician of the country is talking with me. He's quite interested and deeply engaged in the conversation. And I'm sorry to say, and I felt bad after that, and I still feel bad. I did not listen to anybody. I did not listen to someone. I almost left that discussion, that meeting abruptly, and we came home. And as soon as I reached home, I took out my laptop and started writing. So when one is really writing, then the obsession becomes discipline. There are chapters in my Hindi book and also in this book, writing which when I'm writing those chapters, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not making a figurative statement. Literally, I slept for 2 or 3 hours in 24 hours. I'm constantly writing, constantly reading, writing, cancelling it out, cutting it out, and then rewriting. So this is, you are a writer yourself and you know, वो गालिब का जो शेर है, आते हैं गैब से मजामी ये ख्याल में, गालिब नवाए सरोस, गालिब शरीर खामा नवाए सरोस. So the ideas come from where I don't know. The sound which my pen creates when I'm writing, Sharire Khama, it's probably the call of the angels. So when the angels call, you don't bother who you are talking with whom you are sitting in a dinner table. You rush back and start writing. So that is how it took place.
beautiful, sir, beautiful. So as you mentioned very well, Kabir was not a medieval poet. He was a modern poet who was very
Yes.
original in thinking. And he always advocates, be original, be you. Do not talk about this religion or that religion. So at times, while you were reading and writing, you became a Kabir. Do you ever felt the pain? कि यार लोगों को समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. Why they're not understanding the Kabir? Have you felt the pain? Have you cried like while writing or just feeling
Yeah,
what Kabir was
quite
going
right.
through?
In fact, I'll tell you, I felt the pain even more acutely because apparently we have progressed a lot. The best communication systems are available to us now, which were out of wildest imagination of the people of Kabir's times. I mean, who could imagine that you are sitting, I don't know where, in Mumbai, Delhi, Ahmedabad, maybe in Washington, and we are talking real time. So this was unimaginable. Forget about Kabir, this was unimaginable 30 years ago. So with this kind of information technology available, the books and the papers I wanted to consult, I had to run from this library to that library. If I am not getting one particular text here, I will have to run to Kolkata or contact somebody in Kolkata. Today, things which were rare, which were difficult to get, are available on my laptop. I can go to JSTOR. I have many things, many rare manuscripts on my laptop. I have got them digitally copied and preserved in my laptop, so on and so forth. So one would expect that with this rise of technological advancement, the intelligence and the sensitivity of human beings will also probably progress. Unfortunately, we seem to be going in the reverse direction. I mean, the tide of fundamentalism, which has taken the world in its grip for last 20 years or so, the privilege to ignorance. Look at WhatsApp University. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry can come and jhado gyan on WhatsApp University without bothering about facts or, I mean, even about decency. So I feel very angry and pained because as a human being and someone who has some sense of history, I feel irony and pain that on one hand there is so much development in the system of communication information, which should have, quote unquote, logically led to an explosion of knowledge. It has not. It has, on the contrary, led to explosion of fragmentation and stupidity. So this is a very painful situation, and that is why, as you mentioned, this time period and lifetime and all that. I have decided that whatever I have been doing for the last 50 years, the research, the accumulation of ideas and knowledge and reflections, now I have decided to publish my things very soon and very quickly. I'm not going to delay the projects which have been lying in my old notebooks, in my diaries. I am working very, I try to, I want to produce things as soon as possible. Because I think this is, as a thinking human being, as an intellectual, I mean, look at this irony. Intellectual world reminds me of that. We are living in an era, we are living in times where the phrase like intellectual terrorism is quite popular. So being an intellectual is almost like being a terrorist. You cannot counter my argument, you cannot deny my facts, so I am terrorizing you. What we have come to here? So being an intellectual, I think this is my fundamental duty to say and to communicate, particularly to younger generation like you, what I have learned or what I have experienced in my seeking, spiritual as well as material, secular, or whatever. So now I am going to hopefully produce books very fast. This year itself, I hope to publish a whole book on Hinduism as understood through vernacular readings.
Great, sir. Looking forward to it. While reading your Kabir and Kabir, I was as much curious and I read the book Padmavat not once, twice. And I feel you have something to say to the younger generation, as you
Quite
have a
right.
lot to say, a lot to say. Not one, like you have a lot to say on various topics, and you are just maybe putting yourself, okay, maybe I have this bandwidth, 500 pages. But again, as you are saying, maybe we will see more books. And the main thing, what made me stick to the book, your extensive research. I felt like you might have traveled for your research. So if I have to
Yes,
write a like on any subject, how can I
that's
get
right.
my hands to the material, right material? As you mentioned, we have materials on WhatsApp, we have on like email, we have on YouTube. How can I get real information from real sources? What are real sources? How one can find real sources?
Exactly.
Yes.
See, what happens in even in academics, like every other sphere, there are certain things which become part of common sense, which are taken for granted. To give you a very simple example, there is a Samadhi of Kabir in Puri. This is something which every scholar of Kabir has been writing for so many years. I had always felt odd about it. You see, when I approach any subject, Kabir or anything, I basically start with some basic logical queries. In a sense, you can say purely commonsensical queries. Common sense, uncontaminated by ideological, uh, you know, uh, uh, attitudes. So I found it very odd that on one hand we are told that Kabir passed away in Maghar. On the other hand, we have a Samadhi of Kabir in Puri. How it could be possible? And if it's possible, because it's a matter of legends, legends do not exactly follow the regular, normal rationality. Maybe there is something in this legend, but nobody actually elaborated upon that. It was given as a fact that there is a Samadhi of Kabir. Nobody tried to explore the significance of this statement. I visited Puri. I went to that particular mutt where it is claimed that there is a Samadhi of Kabir. It's not Samadhi of Kabir. They never claim so. The Mutt people never say it's the Samadhi of Kabir. They say it is the Samadhi of Kobri of Kabir. Kobri is a particular kind of wooden piece which the sadhus put under their arm when they do pranayam. In order to regulate their breathing exercise, it helps them. So once they put it here, it is called Kobri. It's a kind of triangle made of wood. So Kabir, of course, had visited Puri. It can be imagined by various legends because he was a great traveler. He traveled right up to Gujarat and Puri and wherever. So it's the Samadhi of Kabir's Kubri, which over the time came to be known as Kabir Samadhi. But nobody actually, if I'm not wrong, after Kedarnath Dwivedi, who published his work in 1955, and he also did not clarify the matter. Maybe he did not bother to visit that mutt, but he actually went to Odisha, that is true. After Kedarnath Dwivedi in 1955, nobody actually bothered to explore that what is this Kabir ki Samadhi in Puri. I visited Puri, I think in 2003 or 4 or something like that. And the matter was clear to me. I mentioned it in my book. And then I could make a lot of sense of various legends around Kabir and his travel to Odisha. And also the fact that how Kabir is mentioned in Aine Akbari, on one hand with reference to writing about Hindustan, that is present-day Uttar Pradesh, and on the other hand when writing about Odisha. I could also make out that how Dabistane Majahib, a 17th century text, why it mentions Kabir in reference to Odisha or Odisha with reference to Kabir. So traveling, when you are writing on someone like Kabir, you have to travel a lot. Travels, when you have some queries in your mind, when you have some academic bent of your mind, you also get the opportunities, or you must snatch the opportunities. When I was a member of UPSC, I got an opportunity to visit Yerevan, okay, the capital city of Armenia, because there was a meeting where all the public service commissions of world were meeting. So I was supposed to represent the Indian Public Service Commission there. So I represented Public Service Commission. I attended those meetings, and at the same time, I visited areas around Yerevan, which were to my interest, my academic interest. From there, I went on my own to Astrakhan. where, as I have mentioned in the book, the Indian traders, and more importantly, Hindu traders, about whom we are told that they did not cross the sea, the Hindu traders had a significant and influential presence in Astrakhan right from 16th to 18th century. I wrote about them in my Hindi book, Hindi Sarai Astrakhan via Yerevan. I have referred to that book in this Kabir also. So whenever I travel, I mean, before Corona, I used to travel a lot for giving lectures or whatever. Whenever I travel, somewhere deep in me, I know in this city what I have to look for. And I look for that. If I travel to Mumbai, I know that apart from meeting friends or delivering lecture, there would be something which I will be particularly interested in, and I'll try to explore that interest. That is how I travel.
Have your family worried about you traveling, your movement towards moving Kabir, like extensive traveling for the work? Have they been worried?
Yes.
Like, क्या हो गया इनको मतलब why not focusing on family and work he has? Why Kabir? Like you might have found that you have become Kabir and your family becomes
No, that way,
whatever.
I get what you are getting at. That way, I have been extremely fortunate. My wife herself is a scholar of Surdas, and she is a poet, Suman, and she has always supported my academic explorations, figuratively and literally. If I had to travel, if I have to go somewhere, she has only encouraged me, and she has actually freed me from many of the pressures which one has to undergo as a family person. This becomes even more significant because she herself is a civil servant, took voluntary retirement some years ago from the position of director in Government of India. She is a writer, she is a poet, she is a researcher. She has researched wonderfully on Surdas and has made some very kind of innovative and original observations. So we are a family of, with chemical locha equal, shared by both. So me and Suman both suffer from chemical locha, so there is no problem. There has never been no problem.
Very
दोनों कोई chemical
very
लोचा है तो problem की कोई बात ही नहीं है.
fantastic. So before we move forward, we have a number of questions. So let me pick a few questions. We have question from Yash Kumar.
Yeah.
Wanted to know how to find Kabir in ourselves.
I have already told you that everybody potentially has a Kabir in himself or herself, because Kabir, in this case, in your question also, is metaphor of something. I mean, there is no historical figure Kabir in you or in me. He passed away long ago. But if you maintain your level of curiosity, if you question everything, but not in a cynical way, but with a degree of humanity, with recognition of the fact, two important facts. One, there is no binary between so-called internal and external. If you don't want to call it spiritual, I'm fine. Don't call it spiritual, no problem. But there is existential, something which comes with you because you are a human being. Meaning of life. No dog is bothered about meaning of life. No housefly is bothered about meaning of life. Even the most intelligent animal, dolphin, is not bothered about meaning of life. It's only the human being who is bothered about meaning of life. I have quoted Albert Camus right at the beginning in this book that the only philosophical problem is actually the suicide. Why I should continue to live? Why I should not commit suicide? Camus says, and rightly so, that this is the only fundamental philosophical problem. The entire philosophy follows from it. So if you have that self-awareness and also the awareness of things around you, and if you maintain a constant curiosity, constant examination, including the ideas of people you like. For example, ideas of Kabir himself. I mean, Kabir's ideas on women are not acceptable to me. I have critiqued them in this book. So this is how I believe that you can find Kabir in yourself.
Good, sir. Now we have next question from Anjali. She wants to know what was the inspiration behind the book?
Sorry?
You might have already. What
Yeah,
was
yeah,
the
yeah.
inspiration?
Inspiration. Well, as I told you, inspiration behind the book was to say something which is important and probably nobody else is saying. The inspiration behind the book was that I have something, I felt that I have something, I have something to convey and I must. So that was the inspiration behind the book. As a matter of fact, as I told you, till 2 or 3 years ago, I was a very lazy writer. I do not really enjoy much writing. I enjoy reading. So Suman and other friends of me have been quite insistent that for God's sake, start writing now. Okay, you have read a lot and you go on reading a lot and please go ahead, but start writing also. And in last 2 years or so, Anjali, or maybe some years before that, I realized that things are going in such a direction and so fast that this will be probably a moral crime if I do not say what I think I can say and is meaningful for people, is important for world, and is really important for the younger lot. So that is how, as I told you, I have decided to now produce more and more, write more and more, fighting my laziness as a writer. I'm going to be a more Yeah, someone is reminding me that after 2016, this realization came very strongly to me that I must write very fast, and lot of things I have to write.
But you are getting out of your comfort zone and
Yes,
putting your
of
thoughts
course.
together and making this
Yeah.
world, giving what you have learned and
Yes.
giving the world a real perspective of Kabir and other stories you have read and giving them the facts plus
Reading, Rahul, reading itself is not sufficient. Many people read. You see, as they say in Hindi, I know, I'm sure you understand Hindi well and your audience also. कुछ लोग बहुत पढ़ते हैं, लेकिन उन्हें पढ़ाई लगती नहीं है. जैसे कई बार होता है ना कि दवा बहुत दी डॉक्टर ने, बड़ा अच्छा डॉक्टर है, दवा रेगुलरली दे रहा है, लेकिन दवा लगी नहीं रही है. तो कुछ लोगों को पढ़ाई लगती ही नहीं है, कितना भी पढ़ लें उन पर कोई असर पड़ता नहीं है. So that is not the point. Padhai is not important. Padhai is not that important, let me tell you. I mean, I read, of course, and probably I read a lot, but that is not important in itself. More important is to train your mind into critical thinking. And in my case, I have come out of my comfort zone only in the sense that I have decided to write frequently and systematically and in a disciplined way. Otherwise, right since beginning, I have never been in a comfort zone. I have always been a restless soul. I have been very angry with things around. I have been angry with myself. I have been sad at things. I mean, as I told you in the beginning, any sensitive soul, anybody with some chemical locha in mind, how can he or she be in a comfort zone? So that is denied right at the outset.
So this brings to our next question. What is your writing schedule? Like, how do you write? Like in the morning, in the evening, or 4 hours straight? Or what's your writing schedule like? Like nowadays, for last 4 years?
Forever my writing schedule has been that I can write any time generally, but proper time of writing is late night. I start writing when I am when I have decided that I have to write or work systematically now. So it's usually after 10 o'clock in the night, and about sitting, it depends. It can be 2 hours, it can be 4 hours, and well, sometimes it is even 6 and 7 hours straight. I can write whole night, and I have done it. In this book also, I wrote many of the portions of this book whole night. So I usually start writing late in the evening, early in the night, and then it can be overnight or whatever.
Fantastic. So,
So in
Devi
that sense, I am a Nisacher. Yes, next.
we all have different writing styles. Earlier, you could write in the night, but now I have become a morning writer. So
Yeah,
again,
depends.
there's no rule. Okay, we have a question
No, certainly
from
not.
Devi. Yeah, the question from Devi: what are the major challenges do you face as an author, and how much time you took to write this book, Kabhi Kabhi? Complete this book.
Well, I mean, in spite of the fact that I had lot of material ready, and I had this result of my research after publishing my first book. I did some further research after 2009, and everything was there in the notes and everything. But in order to organize it, in order to properly put it, and I deliberately tried to make this book less academic. Therefore, you will see that there are references, there are footnotes, but not as many as there could have been. If I wanted to put everything in under footnote, then this book would carry hundreds of footnotes and references. It does not. And it does not carry a bibliography also, as you have must have noted. So I wanted to make this book less intimidating for ordinary non-academic reader and more inviting to non-academic reader, while maintaining the academic integrity of my argument, while maintaining the balance that even if a totally pakka academic person reads this book, he must find it difficult to find any fault with this book. This was one parameter, that a total pakka historian must not find any fault with this book. On the other hand, the book should be accessible to, let us say, a student who has just done graduation, or somebody who is pursuing engineering or whatever. So this should not be a strictly speaking book for historians. So one thing was this, which was a challenging task. The other thing was to edit out of the material available to me. I mean, as a matter of fact, I can produce a book of similar or greater size on the basis of the material I have with me. And I plan to do that. Because, for example, in this book, I have written very briefly about vernacular modernity and public sphere of bhakti. Maybe there will be a whole book about these two ideas. Thirdly, the challenge is to find the correct word, to find the correct expression, which is a most difficult challenge. See, this book is an academic book, but you have read it, or anybody would realize who reads it. It's not an academic book in the standard sense of the word. It's a creative book. It's written in a creative language. There are images, there are imaginations, there are reflections, and there are, if you read it carefully enough, there are allusions to personal experiences. So in that sense, it's a creative book. It's not an objective, quote unquote, objective academic book. It has a lot of subjectivity in it. It has a lot of creativity in it. So like any creative writing, to find the suitable expression for what you want to say is the most basic challenge. As this reminds me of the famous couplet from Faiz Ahmad Faiz, that I think is the greatest challenge for me as a writer. घर से चले थे करके हर एक मामला साफ हम, कहने में उनके सामने बात बदल बदल गई. So you start off with some idea, and when it is on the paper, you realize that, well, it is not exactly what I wanted to say. So you rewrite it. So घर से चले थे करके हर एक मामला साफ हम, कहने में उनके सामने बात बदल बदल गई. So to find the right word.
I get it. We have one more question from Durga. What's your favorite stanza from your book?
What is your favorite stanza from this?
Yes.
Well, to my mind, every stanza is my favorite stanza. It's for you to decide that what is your favorite stanza. You see, it's like asking that which finger I love most. I love all the five fingers in my hand. It's for you to decide that which finger you find more beautiful. So, I mean, frankly, but yes, since you are asking, so I'll just read out that particular stanza, which I think, not because it's my most favorite, but because I think this is something which particularly young people should reflect more, or maybe they will find more this thing. This is from Kabir and I, and I finished this portion of, this chapter with these words which I am reading here. Most certainly, moksha is not to be postponed till the end of this life. We have to work it. We have to work for it now. The Nobel laureate, the poet Joseph Brodsky, gives words to common human anxiety. I sit in the dark, and it would be hard to figure out which is worse, the dark inside or the darkness out. This is Joseph Brodsky. I have quoted him. Kabir has an implicit suggestion for moving towards light from the dark inside and the darkness out. Basic, simple, and helpful. But of course, as it's characteristic of him, making some demands on the seeker. Love has illuminated my body, my inner self has brightened, my words now have the fragrance of musk. Pinjar prem prakasya, antar bhaya ujas, mukh kasturi mehmahi, bani futi paas. So this is not the most favorite stanza, but well, I think one of the.
Thank
And
you.
there was other part of the question. And what made you come into literature? As I told you, I think that literature humanizes you. Literature reminds you of the fact that you are not a robot. You are not a machine. You are not a cog in a big machine. You are a human being with your individuality, your moral agency. Literature is the most important reminder of this basic fact. And I have been in literature. I have not come to literature. I have been in literature ever since I was born. And I wish that you guys come to literature more and more.
Thank you, sir. As a paucity of time, we will not be taking more questions. So I have something for you, sir. I would say fantastic five. I will be asking five questions and you can answer in one word.
Yeah.
And want to explain, you can explain maybe in one sentence.
Okay.
So are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Yes.
Well, what was the best advice you have received from anyone so far? Best one
Sorry?
advice.
One
What was the
advice
best
to
advice you have received from anyone?
reflect.
Fantastic. And what the worst advice you have received so far?
Relax.
Relax. And if finally you meet Kabir in real life, what a question you're going to ask him? The one question you have within you for years, 40 years, and you want to
Why
ask
did you
him.
why did you come back to this stupid world?
Oh wow, great, fantastic. and and fourth question, very important. If you want to change in your life by going back, maybe now, what that one thing would be, or habit or anything.
Sorry, I didn't get the question. You mean to say that I
If you
go back
want
to
to
my life? Uh,
and want
I
to change an event or habit, or what that would be.
No, Rahul. Maybe say that again. Say that
What is
again.
one? what is the one thing you want to change in your life by going back in the past?
That's a tough one. Because there is no one thing which I would like to change. There are many things which I would like to change. Because at this age, and this needs for some explanation, at this age, I feel angry with myself for many mistakes I have committed. It's not just one mistake. I have committed a number of mistakes and I would like to change every one of them. There is no order of priority in that. So this will not be one. There will be many things which I would like to change.
Fantastic. And so one tip for the future writers like me, for the audience, any tip?
I have already told you, my dear.
I have read this book, Kabir and Kabir, to all the audience who are watching here, doing us. This book, I know about Kabir a bit through a place, Kabira Khada Bazaar mein by Bhisham Sani, but reading this book touched me. In the night, I was thinking of Kabir Duhas and beyond that. So this is, please go and do watch this show again. It will answer questions and read, because we are reading. I have read only fiction books, love stories and all that, but this kind of book I have never read in my life. And this is the event, I want to go back in time and start reading the book like this, Padmavat. These books touch my soul, and they are giving a lot of messages like our history has been distorted. You wrote well in the book. So we need to get to the real basic, the core of our culture, and beyond that, the core of Kabir is you. Find your true originality. So last message so that we can end with a bang.
Yeah, I think what you said, the most important thing is for writers, for budding writers, don't be in a hurry. I told you that write only what you can bet your life. In other words, write with authenticity. And this is not advice confined only to academic books, even novels, poems, which are not quote unquote academic books, but which have a different kind of authenticity. So whatever you write, it must have an authenticity which comes out of reflection, reading, learning, and for writers of fiction, listening. You see, the constant refrain in Kabir is Suno Bhai Sadhu. It so happens, I think this will be a good idea to end this conversation with, that we should revive the art of listening. All of us have so much to say that we hardly bother to listen. So Suno Bhai Sadhu. In my advice to writers like you would be Suno Bhai Sadhu. Listen. So that will help you a lot.
Thank you so much. Definitely I will reflect, I will learn, and I will come back to this video again to watch what has been through, and through your books, through your writing, I will be able to help myself, heal myself, and find the real Kabir in me. I will request again to everyone, please go read the book Kabir, follow Purushottam Agarwal ji on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and to watch this show again, and to give your reviews and feedback. And this show will go on. Kabir will find you. As Rumi said, what you are seeking is seeking you. Thank you, Eternal Quest. Thank you, Westland Publications. Thank you, everyone, for watching the show. We will come again with new sessions, with more stimulating sessions in the future. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.